You're listening to Women's Cricket Chat with
Hannah
and Alex. Coming up on today's podcast, we've got former Scotland international and former Leicestershire men's player Rob Taylor. Now, if you don't know who Rob is, Rob was coach of the Lightning side during the KSL days and has continued in his coaching role as head coach of the East Midlands side Lightning. Now, Rob sat down with Hannah and I to talk all things Lightning cricket, domestic cricket, and what it's like to be a coach in the women's game.
Well, let's get this moving. So, Rob, first question is simply just introduce yourself in your own words.
Hi, I'm Rob Taylor. I'm the head coach of Lightning Cricket and I live in Rutland, little old county of Rutland.
That's the tiniest county in the UK, right?
I think so, yeah. We used to be the only county without a McDonald's until about 6 months ago.
And how have you found that?
The McDonald's?
I've seen a few tweets or something about McDonald's in Rutland or Oakham or wherever you're based.
I think, to be fair, it was the second biggest news story after coronavirus in Rutland. So, and it doesn't help. It's about a minute from my house as well. So it's, I resisted for quite a long time, but I've been there a couple of times recently.
So you have been badgering us a little bit because you are our first man on this podcast. So how does it feel to have that pressure to be representing all men at this time?
Oh, I don't think it's pressure. It's more of an honour. I think, you guys are obviously doing an excellent thing with your podcast and chatting about women's cricket. And yeah, I think, to be the first guy on, it's great to kind of lead the way for the guys. And I know you've had some decent females on as well before. So hopefully I can bring a man's perspective to this women's cricket.
I do have to correct Hannah Lee. You are the first male interviewee, but you're not technically the first male on the podcast. Nick Friend gets that title because Nick Friend is our first male voice, interviewing wise, but Rob is our first male interviewee.
I know, you're the first male interviewee, so tell us about your male perspective on the women's game.
I think the women's game at the minute is a very exciting place to be. I think probably you look at female coaches, you look at the number of male coaches within the game. I think it's still a high number of male coaches within the game, and it's certainly something that's on its way to changing. And I think for one thing I've found working within the women's game, it's, there is no difference between whether you're coaching male or female in terms of how the kind of approach that I'm taking to coaching the girls is very much, let's make you as good as possible within the game that you're going to play. And that's, that would be the same if I was coaching men or women. And that, you obviously have your differences within the games and slightly less pace in the women's game. But for me, you're still working hard to improve those players and get them to be the best they can be and compete at the level that they are competing at, and hopefully go up the pathway for us. So I honestly, I absolutely love it. It's really cool. Obviously where we are based on campus at Loughborough, it's an excellent place to be with the amount of high quality individuals that you cross paths with. And that's, from a playing point of view, but also other coaches dotted around on campus, crossing paths with Lisa Kitely and, just think of things like that you go, actually, there's a high profile female coach within the women's game. And I think, like I was saying a minute ago, I think that number of female coaches will get more and more in the game with more opportunities that are coming up. And for me, it's got to go that way. For me, it can't be, coaches within the women's game can't be full of ex-pros or guys who have worked their way up the coaching badges. You've got to get that representation of the female players in there. And you see that now with, the likes of Laura Marsh and Sarah Taylor, who've gone on, finished playing international cricket, have now gone on to do their coaching badges, and same with Lyd as well. There's more role models out there for young aspiring female coaches, and we talk a lot about aspiring role models for female players, but actually not everyone's going to go on and be a top cricketer, but you might find a top coach in there or a top umpire. So for me, it's, obviously love being in that environment, love the work I'm doing, and it's great to see that even at Lightning we've got female coaches coming through our pathway on our academy, and for me that's got to continue.
Just on your coaching, was coaching something that you wanted to do, and how did you get into coaching?
So for me, kind of coaching was a bit of I'm finishing playing at Leicestershire, I'm finishing with Scotland, what shall I do next? I quite enjoy wearing a tracksuit. I like working with people, I like being outside. Coaching for me was kind of that first step. I think one thing I didn't do when I was playing was probably tap into the support that the PCA gave us, where, you could go and they would sort out work experience and they'd go and help you out with kind of CPD stuff. So coaching was kind of the first thing that I tapped into and absolutely loved it. Did a bit of work with the pathways at Leicestershire on the men's programme. And then, talking about quality female coaches, I got on the phone to Sal Briggs and was like, any chance I can come in and do a couple of nights a week and just get some experience. And that's kind of how it snowballed, really. So back end of 2016 onwards, that's been me. So yeah, working through my level 4 at the moment, and that's kind of the big project at the minute. So yeah, so it was kind of, I'm going to go into coaching and we'll see how we go. And, fortunately for me, I've found myself in some good positions where I've been able to work with really good players in good environments. So it's kind of been what I've cemented myself into.
And talking about Sal Briggs, so obviously going back to the KSL days, is that how you got involved with the KSL back in 2016?
Yeah, so it was Loughborough Lightning and the Loughborough MCCU were really closely linked at that time. And I was leading the fast bowling program on the MCCU, both men's and women's programs. And the Super League had its first year in 2016, I think it was. Yeah. So I wasn't involved in that year. And then it just kind of transpired that as we got towards the summer and we got through the university comp and Bucks finished, and we were on the road, I think, to Durham for an away game again for Bucks. And Sal and I were sat on the coach together, and she was like, what would your thoughts be on if we, got you a role in the summer in the Super League? And I was like, obviously, yeah, I'm all over it, kind of thing. So then my role slightly changed a little bit, and I headed up the fielding side of things, and Matthew Hogg came in to look after the fast bowling stuff. So, we had a really, really cool group there, and John Bateson was our analyst at the time, and he's obviously now working with us in Lightning cricket again. So yeah, so that's how I kind of got involved in it, and did a summer of that as assistant coach. And then Sal made the move to Taz, and I was in a position to kind of take the reins from there, really.
I love how you just subtly drop, oh yes, Matthew Hoggard. And
that's Loughborough though, that, at the time being around Loughborough, there's just people everywhere, big names everywhere.
When I joined you in 2018, I was like, wait, Matthew Hogg? Because I didn't realise, because I don't know, I hadn't seen much news around him joining as like a bowling coach or whatever. And I remember being like, wait, what's he doing here? And it was so amazing to see that and that relationship with the girls, because yes, we do want more female coaches, but we do want the men too. It's not like a either or, it's the best of both, isn't it? So how valuable were those people in the development of the Loughborough Lightning KSL side? Yeah,
massively. I mean, I learned so much off both those guys. Hoggy from a pure someone who just talks so passionately about fast bowling. Like that was amazing to see how he went about his work with the girls, and really different personalities as well, because he's very he's very out there in terms of how he speaks really passionately, really good energy around the group. I'm sort of a little bit more kind of just calm and steady, and just keep ticking along at one level. And then Sal, in terms of how she commanded respect of the group and had relationships with the girls and stuff, that was for me heading into a women's sporting environment for early on in my coaching career, that was massive to be able to see her work. And then when she did move on, bits and pieces that I could try and bring into how I work with the group as well, while also trying to put my own spin on it. So it was a really cool environment to be a part of. That was, the Super League was a real short, sharp competition then. I think it was only 5 games. It was almost over before you knew it. So yeah, it was a case of trying to learn as much as possible, as quickly as possible.
And also in regards to your coaching, you said you've been a fielding coach and a different coach. Do you think that's helped you become a better coach now in comparison to before?
Yeah, I would say it has. The one thing I would say probably about my coaching is, I've only been doing it for nearly 5 years now. Like that's not a very long time. But I've been in excellent environments where I can learn loads, and that, I think that's the key, is I still appreciate there's areas that I need to work on. So, as a player, I played a lot of short format cricket and with both bat and ball, and was okay in the field. So, I kind of feel like I can cover a few areas. But then, like I mentioned earlier, with the level 4, that's one area where I can go on into another level with those disciplines. So I'm going to focus on fast bowling and batting, and I can hopefully take that with deeper understanding on those areas, because for fast bowling, I feel like there's still a lot that I can learn on that discipline, both in the men's game and in the women's game. That's one of the really exciting things at the minute, is there's very little research on female fast bowlers, but it's all about to happen. So that is super cool, because up until now we've kind of gone, well, there's a few things we know about the differences in terms of how females move compared to men, and speed through run-ups and the speed that they hit the crease, and stability and strength around those areas, but it's not tried and tested yet. And that's what's so exciting about being involved in it at the minute, is I've got this knowledge, or base knowledge of fast bowling, but there's the opportunity for it to get a whole lot deeper in the next kind of 12 months, 2 years. So that's, for me, it's about continuing to develop as a coach to understand where you're at, what knowledge you've got, and then how much can you add to that. Because I think, you'd be a pretty naive coach to go in and go, yeah, I've got all bases covered and I know everything. So yeah, so I think, you've got to take those opportunities when you get them and those experiences, and when you're around good people, learn as much off them as you can.
And thinking about, obviously, like research, so what other parts of research would you want to see? Because it is lacking within cricket, especially in terms of, like you said, fast bowlers, but perhaps also injury, concussion. It is a little bit behind. Like generally in sports science, it is largely about men in sport rather than women's bodies. So what would you be calling for at the moment?
Funny you mentioned concussion, because that's been a problem of ours this winter. Yeah, concussion is going to be a huge thing for us. Chatting, we've obviously had a couple of instances this winter where we've had girls pick up concussions, and you've seen some players out for a long period of time. You've seen some players turn around and ready to go again in 2.5 weeks, and you're going, well, where's the logic here? How someone give us a reason as to why someone, two people can take such a long, a big difference in time to get fit again. So that would be one. I think we're seeing more and more people get hit now. Just I think batters are getting more expansive with their game, and the girls that we're working with are getting more confident in getting down to ramp seamers and actually put their head in the way, which I would say probably 2 years ago that was an area of the game that probably lacking a little bit at the domestic level, but now it's something that players have identified. We need to be able to access around the ground, both back over the bowler but also behind us. So we've, with players essentially opening up those areas of the games, one, they put themselves in the firing line a little bit more, but also keepers as well. The girls, our keepers stand up to pretty much everyone. And, we're working with Abby Freeborn at the minute, who's going to be at the Trent Rockets. And she's like, I need to be able to stand up to Nat Siver and Catherine Brunt. And we're going, okay, perfect. We can work on that. But what it does do is it opens her up. If she's happy to stand up to them, then a batter's probably happy to look at ramping them, which means she's in the firing line. So for me, the concussion and the recovery of players is going to be massive. But it's exciting when players open up new areas of their game. That's exciting, but it obviously comes with a little bit of trial and error. And I think we've certainly seen that this winter. We've encouraged girls to, express themselves and learn new areas of their game and continue to improve and make sure they come into this year with a new part of their game that people may not have seen before. But it does come with its risks naturally when you're trying something new. So yeah, I'd say that the concussion area is going to be a huge one, but yeah, just deeper knowledge of fast bowling. If we can have a much deeper knowledge of what makes female fast bowlers bowl quickly and bowl safely, like that's huge, because we may not, probably not going to hit the 90 mile an hour, but can we have a female version where we're going to care, right? And Izzy Wong, for example, how can she get as fit and strong to bowl as quickly as possible and not, or reduce her risk of picking up injuries? Exciting stuff like that with a deeper knowledge, I think, helps those players.
And it's learning how to control it as well, isn't it? It's not just bowl fast, it's bowl fast and with control. Yeah,
definitely. I think one of the other big developments that I've seen is batters are getting more comfortable with pace, because they see it as a chance that if there's more pace on the ball, that's actually a good thing in the women's game, because previously the game's been dominated by spin and medium pace bowlers, keeper up, wicket to wicket, ring field, hard to hit boundaries. And actually, you talk to some of the girls and they're like, yeah, a bit of pace on the ball, I love that, because I can throw my hands through it. And we're now playing on better wickets where you can trust that the ball's going to come on. And actually you suddenly go, well, someone who was, 3-4 years ago, someone bowling 60 miles an hour was probably a little, fairly quick for someone or for some players. Whereas now those players are going, cool, bit of pace, I can score off that. And I think you're now going that threshold of a Catherine Brunt in her prime is the Catherine Brunt now. If you were to have a young Catherine Brunt now, probably needs another 3 miles an hour on her to be that, oh my God, it's super quick and aggressive. So, that just shows where the game's going. There's so much more support, especially with the regional structure, in terms of players getting all-round support to make sure that they're strong and they're fit. And naturally that has brought, you've got a crop of young, exciting fast bowlers within the UK, and it's just making sure they are fit and they are able to bowl as quickly as possible in the right way and coached in the right way. And that, that's what's exciting, because you just want to, we want to see people just keep pushing the bar. Even, 2 miles an hour in fast bowling in women's cricket is massive. So yeah, so I think, we've obviously got to get that right. And that's exciting. You get fast bowlers who bowl quick. That's what we want.
And you touched on it there as well about managing players. So as a coach, how important is it to be able to manage players, their workloads, and protect them as well from the risk of injury? And I guess this professional structure, as you touched on there as well, is enabling that a bit more. Like, I guess for you as a coach, you have to think a bit harder of, right, I haven't got these players just for like a 6-week tournament. It's all year round. How can I manage these players to bring out the best in them?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of it. Managing players, workloads, managing players in general. We're not just talking about workloads, we're just talking about everything about managing young women. That is one of the things that we're dealing with every single day. From a workloads point of view, we run a spreadsheet with some formulas on it that we've brought over from the men's game, because that's all that's available. So we're running our fast bowling and workloads with spinners as well off that, which so far, touch wood, has served us well. But it's building players for a 12-month program, I think is obviously more beneficial in the long run and actually safer, because you've got the time to spend with those players to go, right, we can get the foundations into you. So obviously coming off the back of last summer, it was players had done absolutely nothing or all home-based stuff into a 4-week build-up. Suddenly you're playing a competition, and it was no surprise by the end of that comp we had a whole load of people who had niggles and a couple with longer-term injuries and stuff. And you're going, well, we've now got a block of time, knowing that we weren't going to start till back end of May. We've now got a block of time where we don't need to be hitting balls for the next 6-7 weeks. Let's give them some rest time, get them in the gym, get some strong foundations, and then we'll get back to hitting balls. Because there was one thing we learned from last summer was, although people hadn't done much from a cricket point of view, they actually came back in really good form. And it's kind of dispelled that myth of, right, you've got to hit, loads of balls to be ready. It was very much, no, get your basics right, get your confidence by getting what you need out of training, and then go and back it and playing a game. So that allowed us to kind of shape our winter a little bit in terms of not rushing people back into the nets, and allowing them to get those foundations and those basics in to make sure they're strong, because we're now having to prep players for a 6-month summer. That's never happened before, unless you're part of the England program. So there's been all sorts of considerations that we've had to do, and I think it's obviously a massive bonus that we can prep these players for 6 months with the whole winter and spend time with them and individualize plans and making sure that everyone gets what they need, not just, right, we're in for a short competition, we've got a short period of time building out, away you go. So that's a huge change, because Super League wise, we used to have like maximum of 2 weeks for players before the comp started. And you're going, well, it was hard to really make massive developments with players there. And that's where we were fortunate that we had a good number of uni students within the program who we'd worked with previously. So yeah, I think it's a massive benefit being a year-round program now.
And earlier you mentioned Abby Freeborn wanting to work on and improve her keeping. Who are the players that have impressed you in training so far, and who are the ones we should be looking out for?
Good question. I won't name all 15, but I think what's one thing I will say that's exciting about our squad is we've got players who we've got a real wide range of players across our squad. So we've got people who I truly believe that if we pick someone in a certain role, they'll be able to win a game, and that's a massive thing that I've been saying to the girls this year is players will get opportunity because of how the summer is planned out. There's a lot of cricket going on, and players will get opportunity, and they might, there's obviously going to be players who don't get it in that first week or first couple of weeks with the first few rounds coming up, but there'll be opportunity through the summer, and that's exciting. That's exciting is we now need a strong squad who can win games for us, and everyone believing that they can come in and do a job for the team. So obviously, like over this winter, we've recruited a couple of players. So Sonia Odedra's come in. She brings loads of experience and an excellent skill set with both bat and ball. So she's really exciting to come in and play that role for us. And as a senior player, and you couple that with your Bryces, they're obviously probably the two names that are most well known within our group. But yeah, I literally I could reel off the whole squad and say this person's going to do something, something to win a game for us at some point in this season. But I think those three girls are pretty exciting. And Michaela Kirk is probably the most unknown player within the group. She's come over from South Africa, and fair play to her. She's been with us for a couple of months now and is getting stuck in and putting her hand up with a couple of performances for knots and in our inter squad practices and stuff. So we've got some really tough decisions to make. That's what part of the territory comes with it, and that's I'd rather be in that situation than sitting here going, right, we've got 9 players and let's pick our 2 best fielders, on top of that, which, if we're honest, sometimes in the Super League, that's kind of how your selection went, was a bulk of the work will get done by your top players and then just pick your best fielders. And that's, now we've got some tough decisions where we're going to have to leave players out who may be in good form because someone else is in slightly better form. And that's where we want it to go. Like we want that. We want that competition and that pressure for places within the women's game. That's only good for it, and that's part of the journey this year. Is especially with the counties, we're going for the first time. We're going to have contract renewal conversations with players. But yet again, the domestic girls have never had that before, unless they've been involved in an England setup. So the game is moving forward. The game is going to be exciting. I think like this summer's going to be absolutely huge.
And obviously, the Rachael Heyhoe Flint Trophy last year perhaps didn't go to plan as you would have liked. How valuable do you think it is to have someone like Sonia Ededra and even Michaela Kirk coming to the side and help with that experience, where perhaps at times last season with the young team that you had, they weren't quite sure how to deal with the pressure moments?
I think that, those 2 will be huge. Like, the 2 players who have come in with, Sonia's obviously got her experience. Michaela's got experience in South Africa as well. Like, that was one area we identified last summer where we probably didn't perform as well as we could do in, through the middle order in games. And to be fair to the girls who played those roles, they've put their hands up and said, yeah, we could have done more there. And we've, they've been working really hard to rectify that and come back so that they are confident in those roles. And part of it's coming down to winning games, or having the experience of winning games and winning tough games, like sometimes just finding a way to just get over the line. And for us, we had a strong top 4 last year, and I think then you add Sonia and Michaela into that mix there, plus even someone like Sachi Pai has come in and put in some really good performances in county cricket and played situations really well in our inter-squad games as well. So you're going, okay, right, well, we've got a bit of a battle here for who's going to fill those spots. So that's I'd say that'd be one area where, obviously you look at the games last year where we didn't get over the line. It was a case, other than the game against Thunder at Liverpool, it was a case of a few runs. It wasn't like we got wiped off the field, and that's where I'm super excited about this summer, is because we got really close to winning 5 out of 6 games and ended up winning 2 out of 6. So that shows that we got a good base of players within our group and a good base to work on, and we've added to that with experience, and everyone's improved again. So I've got massive hopes for us this summer. The group's been in a really good place. We got a good friendly against Sparks, which we won comfortably, which was really nice to kind of set a bit of a benchmark there of how we can perform when we play well. And before the comp starts, we've had 2 more friendlies. So it's that's we're in a good spot. We need to, like I say, we need to make sure we get our combinations right through that middle order and pick the players that we think are going to win us the game in those situations.
And just, if you're allowed to comment on Michaela, I'm not too sure what the situation is with her story. So like, how did that come around, and is she eligible to also play for England, or?
Yeah, so Michaela's got a British passport, so she's signed as a local. She's playing in the 100 as a local. She's very much made the decision that for her, she sees herself being in the UK for a period of time now, which is great. And she's been staying with her grandparents who live over here as well. So she's got strong links to the UK through her family and stuff. So yeah, she's going to be around for a while, which is exciting. She's made that decision. I'm going to come over. She wants to see how far she can go from a cricket point of view and get herself set up. We're just working through a little bit of stuff, whether she could potentially join the university and get some study while she's here, because she'd started a degree in South Africa and she wants to get involved in some coaching as well. So, talk about players wanting to develop and get better. There's another example of someone who's, I want to play cricket. I want to get some off-field stuff lined up as well and get into coaching, open up our options and see where it can take her.
That's so good to hear as well, because I guess it just shows the value of this competition now, of these structures. Having these regional hubs is now getting that attention from further afield as well. So I guess in year 2 of the structure now, but it's really it's the first proper year, isn't it? It's not really year 2, it's the first proper year. It just shows how far we're going so rapidly, as you've already touched on. But thinking about that university setting as well, like how important is it now to try and shift that identity away from Loughborough Lightning, which people still talk about, and it's not just Loughborough Lightning, it's like people keep saying Surrey Stars instead of South East Stars, and Lancashire Thunder instead of Northwest Thunder. So there's still this identity bit needed, isn't there? So what are you doing to try and combat that, to make people realise it's not Loughborough University, it is the East Midlands?
Yeah, it's a really good point, and it's, you know, I suppose because we are based at Loughborough, I think it's going to be slightly harder for us to shift that identity a little bit. But yeah, you know, I think actually, do you know what? It's funny, all the teams who still get referred like you know, people still referring to Thunder as Lancs Thunder and stuff. It shows how strong the Super League was. It shows how strong the identity with those teams was, which was great for a competition that only went for 4 years. But equally, it shows that the energy and the enthusiasm for women's cricket at the domestic level is there. And that's really positive for the Heyhoe Flint and for the new domestic structure. Yeah, for us, it's, you know, we're going out around the counties, and so we got games at Trent Bridge, we're playing at Grace Road, playing at Kibworth Cricket Club, we're going up to Derby. We're really trying to, you know, shift away, I suppose, from our Lightning are playing RSU. Well, they'll be playing on Hazelgrove at Loughborough. You know, we're trying to shift away from that. Yes, we want to have a base where we can call home, and that is the university campus at the minute. But, you know, we are trying to make sure, you know, working with the counties, that people see us as the East Midlands. And, you know, last year was a very quick get the team together and off we go. And then this year is still, there's elements that, you know, if we look again at the end of this year, we might go, okay, well, we might need to do this differently next year to change that identity. And, you know, little things like, you look at it, our kit, for example, still looks much like Loughborough Lightning's kit. And, you know, part of that is being based at the university as a home campus and or as a home base and that sort of thing. But, you know, there's a piece there that potentially we could go, right, actually, let's shake things up a bit. Let's get maybe from a playing kit point of view, can we get away from, you know, a bit of purple and maybe go to something different? But, you know, they're things to work on. I think one of the biggest things that we did, and I think is the most exciting for growing cricket in the East Midlands, because that's part of what we have to do and what we want to do, make East Midlands cricket as strong as possible, was we had the majority of our senior squad girls playing within the counties. So, you know, with it going regional in terms of county cricket this summer in the T20 comp, that presented a really good opportunity where, you know, not still dominated the region because they've got a number of high quality players in there involved in our setup, but, you know, the likes of Jodie Cook in there as well, you know, they're a really high quality team. But actually it allowed us to say to Leicestershire, Lincolnshire and Derbyshire, well, we can boost the quality of your squads with a few players here. And it created a much better competition. And you actually had some really good games or tight games of cricket that, again, have prepared the girls for the summer and have got our girls outside their comfort zone a little bit and into a new environment and working with new players and I, you know, understanding that for them now it's about developing themselves to be the best players they can be, but also it's about developing the region. And that's the responsibility that, with the game going professional, there's that responsibility of those players to go, I'm a professional player for Lightning cricket in the East Midlands. There are 4 counties within this region that we need to make sure are getting better at cricket as well to help us. And that's one of the big pieces for us, is trying to make cricket as strong as possible, getting to those counties, making our players visible within the region. Like that's huge for us. But this year was first year of doing it, and we still got a little bit of work to go. But yeah, we've screenshotted a few articles which are still going Loughborough Lightning and everything, and you know, you think, right, it's going to be tough to shift that identity, but I don't think we're the only ones.
With regards to this summer, the Rachael Heyhoe Flint Trophy has changed from being in 2 separate groups into now everyone plays each other. How are you going to prepare for that in comparison to last year? And do you think this is a better format? Because sometimes when they're in groups, you don't tend to play teams, say, because you were in the North Group last year, you wouldn't have played maybe someone like the Vipers, the quarters or the semi. So do you think this format is better?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this format. I think when you've only got 8 teams in a competition, you need to be playing everyone. I think it gives a fair representation of actually where the teams are across the country. And the issue with, you know, last year was very much, obviously we had a short turnaround time. We weren't able to play a full comp. But this year you've got the 50 over comp where we're playing everyone, and like that is awesome. And then you play everyone twice, or you play your group twice in the T20 comp. So it's more cricket against opposition we haven't played against. And actually for us, you look at where we finished last year, and you go, oh, I didn't have a great season. But actually, I think I couldn't think of a better team to start against than the Vipers. Like, no one will be expecting anything from us in that game. Finished bottom of our group last year, going to play the champions first game. We'll bring it on, kind of thing. That's awesome. Going down to their place to play the champions first up, I think that's great, because that gives us a massive opportunity to set our stall out in terms of where we're going to be this summer. And if we were still in two groups, we might not come up against the Vipers at all. There's still teams in the comp we haven't played, so that'll be interesting. We obviously didn't play any of the South group last year, so that will be for us to get the opportunity to play everyone, I think is a much better format. And playing two formats as well, both T20 and 50 over, you'll see different players coming into their own in different formats, and that's great, because not everyone's suited to just T20 or just 50 over. So that'll be exciting for us. We got players who'll play different roles in both formats, and that's for me, that's what we want. Like I was saying earlier, we want more cricket for the girls at a competitive level where they can express themselves, and this gives us that.
One of the questions I wanted to ask is, obviously you're like Loughborough through and through. You studied at Loughborough, still in the bubble, but obviously it is Lightning, it's not Loughborough. But how do you find that in terms of management players when you're working with people like Tammy, but you grew up with her in that university environment? So how is that?
Yeah, no, it's really cool actually, because like we were saying earlier about relationships and working with people, it's one of those things. Yeah, Tammy and I came through the MCCU program together at Loughborough, and we were in the same halls. And yeah, we've obviously her career's gone like that, and my playing career's gone done and into coaching. But I enjoy that, because I found the same in the Super League when you're coaching or working with players who are at the top of their game, or when we had Jenny Gunn in the group, it was you're working with a seriously experienced player there who, for me, it's about going, okay, well, as an international player, if you drop into our environment for a competition or a period of time, it's about getting that player as comfortable to perform in that competition as possible. So like Tammy's been great. She's come in and said, I want to be part of Lightning. Let me know what you guys are trying to do. Let me know if there's anything that I can do when I'm around. And she's really bought into being part of Lightning. And that's exactly what you want from a player like that who's coming in, because that she's then going to share her experiences and then benefit the rest of the group as well. So naturally it helps. We know each other really well. She's obviously got new areas to her game that were different to when we were training together and stuff. So for me, it's with Tammy specifically, it's just been about building or strengthening that relationship that we already have together, and understanding where she's at from a cricket point of view. What does she need to get ready on a match day? And that's I suppose one of the benefits of us being based at Loughborough is she popped in and she finishes training with England, she pops over and we're training, and she catches up with the girls and that sort of thing. Or she's like, feel like I'm a bit light on training this week, can I come in and have a hit? She jumped in last week and had a hit with us, because we got the opportunity to do that. If she was based with England and then playing for another team, she wouldn't have the option to just drop in and top her skills up and see the girls more regularly. So she joins back up with us, and we've already seen a bit of her. So like that's awesome. But those that I think the Loughborough being back in the bubble, I mean I had 5 years out, although I only went to Leicester, so it's not exactly, I haven't exactly spread my wings too far. But yeah, it's being part of Lightning, where we are separate from the university, officially, that it still brings massive benefits in terms of access to all the additional support that we get through the university, just access to all the great facilities, to other coaches, to different sports so you can cross over. We had GB7s in come and train with us week before last, and they're prepping for an Olympics, and you're going, right, we're rubbing shoulders with those guys. And that was super cool, because they've there's stuff you can pick up from them and they can pick up from us, and it'd be hard to find that anywhere else. But like we were saying earlier, the identity piece of us becoming the East Midlands and dropping the Loughborough side of it, it's going to be tough, because the best facilities in the East Midlands are at Loughborough University. So, why would we base ourselves anywhere else when we got access to the National Cricket Centre and Power Base and all the support services and stuff like that? It's an excellent place to be. And then it's about building really strong relationships with the other counties in the region, so that we get them on board with what we're trying to do, and get out to all the other counties and use their facilities, when we can, and get a bit of a balance of it.
So as a male coach, what advice have you got for other men working within women's cricket when it comes to, like you said, those sensitive topics, when it comes to the players actually having to have those contract discussions, because it is only 5 players at the moment, it's not the full squad, but also when it comes to kind of like periods and female related health within the cricket environment? Because I guess I know you're very open and you're very good with players to talk about all these different things and like having the daily monitoring, but I'm not sure if all coaches are comfortable in that way as a man, which is a little bit strange, because obviously they have partners and mums and sisters and
yeah, it's a massive part of it. Like for me, I'd say, 2 things probably. One is get to know the players on a deeper level. Now you don't need to know completely everything about them, but almost show your players that you care about more than just cricket. Like I think that's a really important part, because you've got, we talk about the age group of our squad. Sonia's obviously our most senior player, and then I think you drop down to Abby, who's 24, and then everyone else is like 24 down to 18, and you're dealing with young women there who are still learning a lot about life, are still learning a lot about themselves, and I think as a coach and as a whole staff group, you've got to get to a level where they believe that you care about them on another level more than just cricket, and that's a huge part of it, and making the environment as comfortable as possible. And I don't mean comfortable as in I'm going to throw you half volleys every session, because no one ever gets better just by doing that. But you mentioned there the stuff around periods and the menstrual cycle, that's a big thing that we've done this winter as staff. Is we sat down with Rachael Chesters and she took us through an in-depth detail of the menstrual cycle and how it affects women, and different things that we should be aware of to help conversations or think about how we can tailor our training sessions around it, because that is the thing. You want players to be able to feel comfortable putting it on their monitoring, or feel comfortable coming into a session and going, by the way, Rob, I've got really bad cramps today, I'm not sure how I'm going to get on. That's fine. I don't having that conversation is the important bit. I don't need to know loads and loads of detail about it, but that then just gives me an idea to go, right, cool. And it's not necessarily the detail they give you, but it's the fact that they're able to come forward and say, do you know what, this is how I'm feeling. And then you as a coach can support that. So you can then tailor your session, or, go in with a slightly different approach if you feel you need to. But yeah, it's something that for us, it's one, having the knowledge of an area like the menstrual cycle, and then secondly, doing stuff about it. So, when we're going out to the grounds, have they got sanitary bins in all the toilets and stuff like that? Have we got as a group, have we got sanitary pads and tampons and paracetamol and stuff like that, so that if there's a player who for whatever reason has forgotten stuff, they've got someone who's got a stash of things. So that's one thing that we say, well, we've got the knowledge now, so now we've got to make sure we do the right stuff for the players, because that was something that Rachael spoke to us about. And actually I was it was something that I wasn't aware of previously, is that probably because I hadn't really looked into detail about it, but a female player going to a cricket ground on her period is a big deal. Like, especially if you're going to an out ground, or you're going to a test match venue which normally just hosts men's cricket, there's certain levels of anxiety there around what provisions are going to be in place, and that's something that, again, we're trying to go back to saying, make the girls as comfortable as possible. When we rock up to Trent Bridge or a Kibworth or a Derbyshire, those things have to be in place, because then the players rock up, they're at ease with that side of things, and they can focus on their cricket. So it's going, well, if you've got a good relationship with that player and they're happy to open up and talk to you about certain things, then you can help support them and provide what they need. So that would be the biggest thing, is if your players feel comfortable chatting to you or dropping you a message before they come to a session to let you know how they're feeling, be it menstrual cycle, be it work related stuff. We're at a time now, like, the girls have got so many deadlines. Those at university have so many deadlines due. Others have got work commitments, and it's just about understanding each player, like, where are you at as an individual, and how can we best support that? And that's the big thing for us as coaches, is making those players aware that we do care about them on that next level. It's not just, can we make you a good cricketer or a very good cricketer? It's, can we make you a really good person within our environment? And we'll do everything we can to support that.
Honestly, it's been amazing, and it's so nice to actually chat to you on this kind of like deeper level as well, rather than just being like, hey, how are you, whatever, you know, like actually getting to know your brain and like understanding.
I'm happy to chat cricket and everything for as long as we need.
Yeah, no, I love it though. Like I would love to go on to the coach-athlete relationship more, but there's only so much we can talk about in a limited time. But I guess just to end and round up, what are the hopes for Lightning this summer? What does a good season look like for you?
Well, obviously we've got 2 competitions, so winning those is primary. I've never gone into a competition thinking, I'd happily just finish third. Like we're setting out to win silverware, and that's the big thing for us. Obviously, there's steps along the way, like hitting finals days and giving ourselves the opportunity to win the silverware. But for us, it's if we can get to a finals day, then we give ourselves the best chance of winning something, and that's going to be huge for us. But one of the things that we've spoken about a lot is going. We were very close last year, and we've already spoken about it, but we were very close last year. If we can have personal best seasons from every player in our group, we should be in a good chance of achieving that goal that we set out to win competitions. And that's part of the process that we speak about a lot, is have that goal of wanting to win something. But you've got to understand, we've got 4.5 months of time in between that finals day where we've got to do a lot of stuff right to give ourselves a chance of winning. So if players can stand up and put in personal best performances in matches, then we've got every chance of winning something. So yeah, I wouldn't sit here and say we're not aiming to win stuff, because we are. Everyone in our group is about winning. Like, we want to win games of cricket, we want to win competitions, but there's a long way to go before that.
Perfect. Well, that's a great way to end up. So thank you so much for sparing some time and chatting to us.
No worries, Hannah.
Massive thank you to Rob for coming on and talking all things Lightning cricket, the Rachael Heyhoe Flint Trophy, and how the domestic season is going to shape up in 2021. And to all our listeners, if you want to keep up to date with everything we're doing, you can follow us on Twitter at WCricketChat and on Instagram at Women's Cricket Chat. And if you want to give us a like on Facebook, we are Women's Cricket Chat. And if you wanted to give our personal Twitters a follow, Hannah is at HannahT1194 and I'm at Alex Jane Pereira. This has been Women's Cricket Chat. Tune in next time.